From the outside, my life looked like the dream people scrolled through on Instagram with a sigh. I, Amanda, 32F, had a thriving interior design company, a beautiful home, and a husband who kissed me every morning before he left for work. Our son, Leo, was the light of our lives, and I had my sister Lila living just a few streets away. We were the picture of a tight-knit, successful family. The irony? I built that image. I made it real, or so I thought. My sister Lila was always complicated. Talented but aimless. Gorgeous but never quite satisfied. She'd drift from one project to another, always leaning on me for support. And I always gave it. When Ethan and I launched AL Interiors, I let Lila sit in on meetings so she could learn the ropes. I even let her assist with smaller design projects so she'd feel included. I wanted her to grow. "I owe you big time, Mandy," she'd say with a grin and a hug every time I bailed her out of another failed job or maxed credit card. "I don't know what I'd do without you." But lately, something felt off. I'd catch her and Ethan laughing too hard at a joke I hadn't heard. Whispering in the kitchen and abruptly changing the topic when I walked in. Once, I walked in on them sitting close together on the sofa, their bodies angled in that unmistakable way that says, "We're a little too comfortable." I blinked it away. They were family. My husband and my sister. My two pillars. "Don't be paranoid," I told myself. "You're just tired. Overworked." And I was. Between juggling Leo's needs, client meetings, product launches, and managing staff, my days were packed. I relied on Ethan to handle the legal and financial side. I trusted him to run our joint accounts, manage the taxes, deal with the lawyers. I'd sign documents he placed in front of me after a quick glance. We'd always done it that way. Because when you've been with someone for 10 years, trust becomes muscle memory. Looking back now, I realize what I was really doing, building an empire on quicksand. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Leo had painted a sun in art class and couldn't stop talking about it on the walk home. "Mommy, I made the sun smile today," he said, holding the crayon drawing up proudly. I laughed. "Why's the sun smiling?" "Because he's watching us. He likes us." That moment, his tiny hand gripping mine, his eyes full of joy, would be the last moment of peace for a long time. We reached the front door and I knew something was wrong before I even turned the key. The air felt too still. Too empty. The door creaked open. Silence. No scent of Ethan's cologne. No TV playing. No toys scattered on the floor. Just nothing. I dropped Leo's backpack. "Ethan?" I called. "Lila?" No answer. I stepped further inside and froze. The living room was stripped bare. The couch, gone. Art from the walls, gone. Even the little ceramic bowl where we kept our keys, gone. Panic clawed up my throat. I ran upstairs. Our bedroom closet? Empty. My drawers untouched. Only his were cleared out. A sinking dread filled my chest. I dialed Ethan's number. Straight to voicemail. Then came the email. From a law firm. Subject line, "Notification of transfer, Amanda Richards." The email explained, in heartless legal jargon, that I had, through signed documents, voluntarily relinquished all shares and rights to AL Interiors and transferred full ownership to Ethan. The documents were dated months ago. And every page had my signature. I remember the paper shaking in my hands. I remember my knees buckling. I remember Leo tugging at my sleeve asking if we could go get snacks now. I remember the realization sinking in like acid. They didn't just take my business. They took my life. And they did it while smiling to my face every single day. That night, I stayed at my friend Kira's tiny apartment. Leo fell asleep in my lap, unaware of how his world had just shattered. The next day, I turned on the TV to distract myself, and that's when I saw it. Lila and Ethan. On a local morning show. Sitting side by side. Beaming. Talking about their fresh vision for the company. Our journey wasn't easy, Lila said with a practiced, coy smile. But love finds its way. Ethan and I are stronger than ever, and we're so excited for what's next. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. The name of the company had been changed to EL Designs. My initials gone. My legacy scrubbed clean. And the worst part, they were proud. I thought the betrayal stopped at Ethan and Lila. But the next blow came from the very people who were supposed to protect me. My parents. When I called them, heartbroken, humiliated, shaking, they didn't ask how Leo and I were doing. They didn't ask where we were staying or if we had food or shelter. They asked what I did to push Ethan and Lila together. My own mother said it without hesitation, "Well, Amanda, you were always too busy. Maybe you didn't see what was right in front of you." And my father, the man who once held my hand while I crossed the street, muttered, "Ethan is a practical man." Maybe he didn't feel prioritized. Maybe Lila made him feel needed. I stared at the phone, silent. Needed, I worked 14-hour days. Cooked dinner, read bedtime stories, kissed bruised knees, managed payroll, took care of their house when they were sick, and paid off Lila's student loans behind her back so she wouldn't drown. And I made him feel not needed. Are you seriously defending them? I whispered, unable to hide the shake in my voice. We're not defending, my mother snapped. We're accepting. And maybe you should too. Holding on to bitterness won't bring peace. Bitterness is peace. My entire world had been demolished, and the only people I had left were telling me to let it go. No. That was the moment I knew. I didn't just lose a husband and a sister. I lost a family. But I didn't cry. Not then. Because anger has a way of drying tears. And betrayal has a way of creating something colder than grief, resolve. Divorce and custody battle was as fast as you can expect. They warned that they would fight for Leo's custody if I do not give him divorce without any contest. So I did not because I was afraid of them but because I had something else planned for the future. Before Ethan and I started AL Interiors, I had another dream, one I never shared with anyone. A small, online design store named Red Ivy Home. It sold customized furniture, decor pieces, curated interior kits, affordable yet elegant. I had started it anonymously while we were building the main company, testing ideas and slowly growing the brand. Ethan had no idea. Neither did Lila. Or my parents. It was mine. Mine alone. My backup plan. My creative space. My secret safety net. I hadn't touched it much in recent years, too consumed by AL. But by some twist of fate, or maybe by divine foresight, I never shut it down. I kept the site running, let the orders come in slowly, hired a virtual assistant to handle shipping. Now, it was all I had. And it was enough. I dusted off the old logins, pulled up the files, and started rebuilding. I rebranded. I poured my soul into it. I launched a limited collection called the Phoenix line. Furniture with fire-scarred wood, raw metal edges, deep crimson fabrics. Pieces that told a story of loss and rebirth. Every order I packed felt like a quiet act of defiance. Every 5-star review was a crack in the walls of their stolen empire. Within 6 months, Red Ivy Home was trending. Design bloggers were featuring my pieces. Influencers started ordering custom collections. I partnered with a non-profit that supported single mothers and survivors of financial abuse. People started asking who the woman behind the brand was. And I stepped into the light. I did interviews, podcasts, magazine features. I told my story, not as a victim, but as a woman who built something from the ashes. I was left with nothing, I said during one interview, looking into the camera. But sometimes nothing is exactly what you need to build something better. About a year after the betrayal, I started hearing whispers. An ex-employee from EL Designs reached out to me on LinkedIn. She didn't say much, just a short message: "They're falling apart. I'm sorry for what they did to you." It wasn't long before the rumors spread. Clients were complaining about poor execution. Designs were uninspired, copy-pasted versions of my original work. Worse, suppliers were pulling out due to unpaid invoices. Apparently, Ethan had no clue how to handle the back end of the business. He was good at signing papers, smiling in meetings, and cashing checks. But managing vendors? Building relationships? Delivering actual results? That had always been me. As for Lila, creativity had never been her strength. She was excellent at copying a mood board. Not so great at original ideas. She spent more time on social media posing next to her designs than doing any actual work. Their stolen business started to rot from within. And me? I was thriving. Red Ivy Home wasn't just a side hustle anymore. It was a full-scale brand. I had an office space, a small team of loyal designers and builders, and a waitlist for custom orders that stretched 3 months out. I was invited to speak at design conferences and featured in Elle Decor as one of the top 10 disruptors in interior design. The best part, I did it all while raising Leo. He became my little co-pilot. We worked on weekend projects together, and sometimes I let him design a few pieces that we shared on our social media. My customers adored him. We were happy. And then one evening, while preparing dinner, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, I froze. It was Lila. She looked nothing like the smug woman from that morning show. Her makeup was smudged. Her designer coat wrinkled. Her eyes, bloodshot and pleading. "Amanda," she said, her voice cracking. "Please. I need your help." I didn't move. Just stared at her through the open door, arms crossed. "Help?" I asked flatly. "From me?" She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. Ethan. He left. Took whatever was left in the company account and disappeared. We're being sued. There's debt. I don't know what to do. You could always ask Mom and Dad, I said, venom coating every word. She let out a broken laugh. They're furious. Especially now that they've lost money too. They invested in the business when we relaunched. They thought we were going to be the next design empire. I blinked, once. So let me get this straight. You stole my husband, my company, my life, and my parents' support. And now you're here because Ethan took you for everything, too? Lila dropped to her knees. Yes. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I don't want your money. I don't want anything except your forgiveness. I'll work for you. Clean floors. I don't care. I'm scared. Behind her, I saw Leo peek around the corner. Mom? He called. Who is it? I turned to him and smiled gently. No one important, sweetheart. Just an old ghost. I looked back down at my sister. Her face was a mixture of shame and desperation. You want to work for me? I said slowly. You want forgiveness? She nodded eagerly. Yes, anything. Please. I leaned forward just enough so she'd hear me clearly. Forgiveness isn't something you beg for. It's something you earn. And some people never do. I shut the door in her face. For a moment, I stood there, hand on the knob, listening to her sob on the other side. But I didn't open it again. Because this wasn't revenge. This was justice. Lila's visit opened the floodgates. A week later, I got a call from my mother. I didn't recognize the number, she was using someone else's phone. I considered not answering, but curiosity got the better of me. Amanda, she started, her voice shaky and coldly familiar, we didn't know it would end like this. Didn't know? I echoed. You supported them. You watched me crash and called it growth. You're being unfair, she snapped. We were caught in the middle. I laughed, bitter and short. You chose your side. Silence. Then, your sister is struggling. She's been living in a rented basement. Ethan drained everything. Don't you think it's time to forgive? You've proven your point. I stared out the window of my office, where employees bustled past, where my son was curled in a cozy chair doing homework, where everything was built from the ashes they left me in. I wasn't proving anything, I said. I was surviving. And now I'm thriving. There's no going back. She's still your sister. No, I said, calm and absolute. She was. But she died the day she stabbed me in the back. The woman you're speaking about? She's a stranger. She wants to meet Leo, she said next, like a landmine disguised as a favor. That was the end of the conversation. My son doesn't need to meet someone who hurt his mother, I replied, and hung up. That night, I sat with Leo and told him the truth. Not every ugly detail, he was too young for that, but enough. That his dad had made bad choices and wasn't coming back. That some people we love can still hurt us deeply. And that no matter what, I'd never let anyone hurt him. He put his small hand over mine and said, "You're strong, Mommy." Like a superhero. No, like a survivor. I received an invitation in the mail not long after. It was a court summons. Lila had filed for partial rights to the original company, AL Interiors. She claimed she had no idea the documents she had me sign were forged. That Ethan tricked both of us. That she was a co-victim. Nice try. My lawyer laughed as he read it. She's drowning, he said. And she's grabbing at whatever she can. We went to court. I presented every document I had. Emails, time-stamped project files, bank transfers. I showed proof that she did know. That she benefited. That she posted photos of my work as her own. The judge wasn't impressed with her tears. The case was dismissed within 20 minutes. As we left the courtroom, I felt her eyes on my back. Waiting. Hoping I'd turn around and say something. I didn't. That night, I sat in the living room of my dream home, with Leo asleep beside me, my team buzzing with ideas for our next collection. And the fireplace crackling softly. I had offers pouring in, TV shows, partnerships, even a major home improvement chain asking to carry my designs. But I wasn't interested in fame or fortune. I was interested in peace. So I grew slowly, intentionally, and without apology. My life now? It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. Not stolen. Not shared. Not owed to anyone. Just mine. And the people who once tried to leave me on the road, they now sat on the outside of a gate they could no longer open, watching a woman they underestimated rise into everything they thought they destroyed. It's been 3 years. 3 years since I lost my husband, my sister, my business. And the last shred of belief I had in my so-called family. 3 years since I was left with my child, a suitcase, and a signature used like a weapon. And yet, it was also the start of everything. Red Ivy Home has now expanded to 2 flagship stores, a best-selling design book, and a mentorship program for women rebuilding after betrayal. I speak at events. Not to gloat. But to teach. To help people like me learn how to rise without losing themselves. I never went back to that courtroom. Never called my parents again. They show up sometimes, sending letters filled with guilt and apologies disguised as expectations. I don't respond. Lila sent me an email last month. It said, I know I'll never deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that I envy you, not your money or your success. I envy your strength. I wanted to take everything from you, but I never realized you were the thing holding it all together. I didn't reply. She doesn't get that part of me anymore. But I'm not bitter. I don't wake up angry. I don't plot. I don't gloat. I wake up grateful. To have my son beside me. To walk into a home filled with art, laughter, and truth. To look in the mirror and see someone I fought to become, someone no betrayal could ever truly destroy. Sometimes, I still dream about that night on the curb. Leo in my arms. My signature on those cursed papers. The sound of a car door slamming and my whole world folding in. But in the dream, I always stand up. Because I did. And now, when people come to my gate, those who once locked me out, I don't open it. Not out of hatred. But out of self-respect. Because I've learned something they never did, not everyone deserves a second chance at your peace. And sometimes, the real victory is simply never letting them back in.